This week in Shaman King, we are going to China with almost a full crew, mind you. This was one of the small arcs that I was looking forward to the most, and I am so glad they are not covering it in a single episode. We'll likely get 2 episodes total, so next week will be a continuation of this, but not the week after. But I have to say, this was the biggest point that made me nervous about what was gonna come. But what they showed this week, what we have seen this week in episode 11, 2 Men, that completely alleviated all my concerns. We are getting a great adaptation of this portion of the story. So welcome everyone to Gamerturk's Onsen. This week I am once again solo because Euro 2020 is finally starting, and that's causing me some scheduling issues because tonight there's a Turkey versus Italy game that I am looking forward to. But yeah, that's completely besides the point. We are heading to China. And I was really scared that this episode would begin with Bason arriving at Yoh's house, but instead we had a whole lot of backstory for Ren versus Tao Ren, and the point that I was scared would be coming first was about 5 or 6 minutes into the entire episode, which is again one of those great signs that we're getting a nice adaptation here. But aside from that, speaking from the overall art style, it is kind of an action-oriented episode, but we didn't have much actual action animation going on this week. However, what they did was, which is why I am not gonna complain about the fact that there wasn't much animation going on, it was mostly still frames, is that they really implemented this thick line art style that we have seen back in Alicization as well, Sword Art Online Alicization anime in War of Underworld. Although this is not on the level of that, I felt like the art style, the slight shift they had this week, really emphasized every single emotion that this episode was going through perfectly well, without going into too much animating stuff. And especially, the small details, like for example, when Horo is standing still, when Ryu is standing still, we're still getting those little animations going on around their collars and other stuff. These are really subtle things, but they keep the otherwise static shots kinda moving, and I really like that choice. There are a couple of these emotional focuses of this episode. They are focusing on different things at different times. For example, we are starting with Tao Ren's relationship with Tao An, his father, as well as June, and then we are going back to Japan mainland and we see Yoh and all the others really emphasizing, really standing by their friendship with Ren. And then once we go back to the China towards the end of this episode, both of these narrative threads combine into Ren talking about their friendship with Yoh and Ko, etc. So that tying in and continuing to build up Ren's personality, we mentioned this with Val as well in previous episodes. They really focused well on Ren's build up the past couple of episodes. And we are reaching the culmination point of that entire narrative thread, and everything is coming together in this mini arc over in China. But yeah, this episode, speaking of that friendship portion, it really shows that while when they are together, they may seem kind of butting heads all the time, kind of like a dysfunctional group. This episode really hammers home the fact that they are proper friends. That's why they are butting heads constantly. They are not a dysfunctional group. They're just really close friends that mess with each other constantly. And one of those, especially when June and Ren back in the dungeon talking towards each other, and Ren is finally going, "It'll work out," Yoh's catchphrase, "it'll somehow always work out." The feels, this was the perfect moment that brought all of that backstory together. It was absolutely great, and I can't wait for the next episode. But yeah, before we get to the actual end of the episode, I do have some complaints, like the 5 officers coming in to stop the crew. I felt like that was over incredibly quickly, although we'll see some more of that next week as well, so maybe I shouldn't blame them too much, because I really do feel like from what I have seen this week, they are saving the actual animation portion of the fights for next week. This episode was incredibly static, although saved by their art style choices. It was still static, so chances are next week, the final point of this arc, that's where we'll actually get to have proper fight scenes, which includes the second half of this 5 officer scene. One complaint I have, of course it's not a complaint towards the anime, what we're seeing here, but rather story-wise. Why the fuck did you bring Manta along? Like, what's the point? Even he's questioning why the fuck he's here. Even Yoh is telling things like, you stay behind where Bason tells you to, we don't want you getting hurt. Why did you come in the first place? It's fine if you're a friend and want to emphasize that friendship, but perhaps not go into the dungeon of your biggest enemy so far? That sounds kinda dangerous. Just stay back in your hotel in China somewhere. Don't get into the fucking dungeon. Of course, it's likely not gonna cause any trouble because, you know, we can just ignore he exists and things will be alright off screen. But still, when something like this happens, I'm like, yeah, but you could have not just brought him in the first place, so why? But again, that's just nitpicks about the story itself. He has to be there because we're trying to emphasize, focus on that friendship aspect of things, and everybody has to be here. So I guess that works. Horo and Ryu's team up, absolutely magnificent. I love that. These shots were so epic as well. And of course he gets his hair cut off in the middle as well. It's a tradition. It's always funny to see it. But what got me the most was the end of the episode. You know, I kept going on about how Ren's voice is just not matching the character for me since the beginning of the series. It was my first time watching the Japanese dub of Shaman King. I always watch the Turkish dub and then the English dub. You know, I'm used to the little kid annoying brat voice of Tao Ren, not this incredibly deep voice that comes out of him. But this episode, Jesus Christ, the fight between Yoh and Ren in 2 episodes prior, if I remember correctly, and then this episode, the amount of emotions that go into his voice actor is doing an absolutely phenomenal job here. And of course, Yoko Hikasa as Yoh bouncing off of him, it's perfect. His voice, I don't like his voice, but I absolutely love how his voice plays into the emotions that there is going on. So, who knows, maybe in another 5-6 episodes I'll actually do get used to the fucking voice of the guy and get to enjoy it even more. Also, neat little attention to detail, the little panda Tao En is holding now has those zombie charms on top of their head, because as you remember the last time we saw the guy, he actually did kill the panda. It looks like they stitched them together, put up a fucking zombie charm, and it's as good as new. So yay, the panda is dead but not dead, so I'll take that. I like the panda, it's cute. But yeah, next episode is titled Ren vs. End, the end of Tao. It's not even trying to hide the what's gonna happen at the end, not like it needs to. It's a shonen show, the good guys win. But yeah, the next episode is going to be the ending portion of this mini Tao Ren arc. I am really looking forward to it. There's gonna be a lot more fight scenes compared to what we had this week. It should have a lot better animation on the side of that. And of course, it's gonna complete Tao Ren's first character arc, which they have paid great attention and care to. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so looking forward to it. You know, back in the original anime, I barely cared for Ren. He was a fucking dickhead. And I was much more happy following Yoh and Ryu and the others that I am not gonna name because it will spoil the team-ups for future. But you know, those were the fun guys. Tao Ren was the dickhead. I don't care about the dickhead. But here, the way they're portraying Ren and really putting that focus on his character growth, yeah, I am following this guy. I like it. It's going great. So I am looking forward to the end of his mini arc over here, and then we'll move on to bigger things, of course. Things are only gonna get bigger after this. And I hope you'll keep enjoying these little episodes. Not many people are watching, as usual, whenever I cover something that is not SAO. But to those of you watching, thank you. Hope you're enjoying. Please do share your opinions in the comments. Hopefully next week we won't have scheduling issues, that I can do the videos again with Wall. But yeah, Euro 2020 and then the episodes coming at unpredictable times, it's kinda making it hard. I managed to watch the episode at 3 AM, at which point Val was, 5 hours asleep already. And now I don't want to risk missing my game tonight, so I am recording it now on my own. I will see you next week when we conclude Tao Ren's arc. Until then, stay cool.